All right, every now and then you get a chance to chop it up with Sammy Tejada. How you doing, Sammy?
I'm doing fantastic. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. So we were just talking a little bit about Liquid Vita, one of your projects, and we were talking about how you've expanded the business. What got you started in wanting to do Liquid Vita, which nobody knows what it's about, tell them all about it.
Man, Chris, like you could see right back here. You see my fire department gear. That was my gear that I wore for 12 years servicing the community.
I'll be
And
honest with you, I thought that it was a World Wrestling Federation belt that you had back there. I thought it was WWE.
I might have one of those too, by the way, but no, that's the fire department. That's the real hero right there, right? Actually, which I thought I was going to be the real hero. And when I graduated high school, I told myself, what job would be the most rewarding job? And
WWE. I
and that's when
mean,
I
when you're
said,
coming out of high school, that's the job. You're like, hell yeah, let's do this.
yeah. Listen, I was a big fan of wrestling, so for me, it was becoming a firefighter was like that quote unquote hero, right? And after years of actually serving as a firefighter paramedic here in South Florida, I really realized that only about 10% of the 911 calls were those real heroic type of calls, right? Most of the other 911 calls were a lot of these medical calls where we were taking patients to the ER, to these quote unquote experts. And what you started to notice is like, when you work in a community that's not that big, and you're a firefighter paramedic, people get to know you, right? The same way people get to know you when you're at the grocery store. It's like, oh, there goes firefighter Sam, who's at the community events, commission meetings, and things like that. You get to learn the people that live in the community. So when you get that first 911 call for that medical emergency, and then 6 months later, you get that other emergency call from that same person in the same residence. And then all of a sudden, you start seeing that you're getting that 911 call every other month, then every month, then every other week, then every week to every other day, and you're taking them to the ER, you start to scratch your head and you say, this medical system that I'm a part of, that I'm taking to these experts, why is it that I'm bringing this person more frequently and they're not getting better? And it wasn't just one patient, two patients, it was hundreds. Where I told myself, I says, you know what? We have a broken medical system and I can't be a part of it. I have to do something bigger and better. And that's where Liquivita came to light.
And and talk a little bit about what Liquid Vita is.
So Liquivita, so our mission is to make people feel good, look good, and be in control of their health. So how do we do that? We do that through taking a proactive, preventative approach to their health and wellness versus what we're so used to, where it's more reactive medicine, right? Right now, here in the United States, it's more reactive care where someone gets sick and then they go to the medical doctor to try to get better. So for us, it's really getting people to take control of their health through different type of diagnostics that we do and treatment modalities. So for us, is we run people through a bunch of diagnostics that your typical doctor, your general practitioner, will never do, which consists of a DEXA scan for body composition analysis, so you can actually understand what your body's made up of, right? Not just total weight when you get on a scale. We do the resting metabolic rate to see metabolically how your body's performing, right? How many calories you're burning at the rested state, understanding nutrition wise, how many micros and macros you should be intaking, depending what your ultimate health goals are. We do a comprehensive blood analysis where we're not just looking at your basic sugar levels and your CBC, your complete blood count. We're actually looking at things like food sensitivity, hormone imbalances, inflammation markers. We're looking at environmental toxins, right? Where we get exposed to all of this toxic food and toxic environments. That has a direct effect on our health. So for us, it's really getting a good bird's eye view of how the patient's health is. And then from there, supplement them with certain different nutrients, which consist of vitamins, minerals, amino acids, different hormone therapies to make sure they're within optimal range and they have a good quality of life.
Have you ever heard of Function Health?
Yeah, Dr. Mark Hyman is behind that company.
Yeah, so I use them for blood work, and they do a ton of blood work. And I found that over the years, I think most people don't realize how important it is to monitor your blood work because your blood work tells you what's going on under the skin, inside your body, and that's where all your problems start from. And I've learned a ton about blood work. I think more people should do more blood work when it comes to their health, their long-term health. You can learn a lot about whether your sugar levels are too high, your thyroid levels are too high, your testosterone's too low. I mean, there's just a ton of stuff you learn from blood work.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. That's what I call looking under the hood, you
Yeah,
know, being able to see exactly if something's off, because if you catch it early, then it doesn't really become a serious problem down the line.
yeah. It's all about proactive catching things early.
Right. Right.
So what does somebody do? They just go into one of your clinics and they go through all this tests and then they start getting on a IV drip. Is that what I understand?
No, so we do more than just the IV drips. That's just one modality out of many that we offer people if they need it, right? It's not just you walk in and get an IV drip like off a smoothie menu type of deal, So this is all personalized to the individual. But the first step is when someone decides to come in, we want to understand the actual person, right? We want to understand their lifestyle, what they're exposed to, what type of job they work. Is the job causing a lot of stress? Is there sleep deprivation? Are they a first responder, right? Like me, I was at a fire department. I'd be there for 24 hours. I'd get woken up in the middle of the night. I had sleep deprivation. My cortisol levels were off the charts. I had adrenal fatigue. So these are things that what we do initially is a lifestyle questionnaire to really understand how this person's living and how those different lifestyle habits that they have are affecting their actual health. Then from there, we start all the diagnostics. We put them through all of the diagnostics I mentioned earlier, including the blood work. And then once we get everything back, we take that lifestyle assessment and questionnaire alongside with all of the results of all the diagnostics they did. And then we start putting the storyline together of what's happening with their actual health.
That's awesome. And you've got 40 locations now?
So we've sold 40. I'm a franchisor, so I actively sell franchises throughout the United States. My goal is to really take care of the masses and really change healthcare, the course of healthcare. And currently, we've sold 40, and about half of those are open. The other ones are in different stages of development.
And where are they primarily located all throughout? Like,
So we're headquartered in Fort Lauderdale, Florida,
okay.
and we have many locations in Florida. But we do have locations in Arizona, Texas, multiple cities in Texas, New Jersey, Connecticut. We're opening up in Atlanta. And our goal is to spread all throughout the United
It's
States.
funny, in July on the 15th, I'm hosting a private lunch for Major League Baseball's All-Star Weekend. Former players, brands, athletes. You might want to be there because that's a good red carpet for you to get some exposure at.
That would be amazing. I love it.
Yeah, a lot of the former players, especially in Major League Baseball and NFL, they are very focused on their health because, as an athlete, don't forget athletes most of their lives are athletic, they're healthy. And
Right.
after their career, they want to stay healthy. They have to do things that because they're not going to training camp or they're not physically exerting themselves every day. So that they literally focus on their health more than most people that I'm finding.
Yeah, Chris, interesting enough, before this podcast, just a couple hours ago, I was at a Fort Lauderdale Wellness Center, and I was meeting with a lady who's the president of the NFL Sisters. That basically, these are basically the wives of a lot of NFL players, retired and some current, that basically advocate for the health and wellness of their husbands that are NFL, retirees or current. And what's happening is, depending on what league you play in, if it's football, baseball, basketball, with the NFL, one of the things that she brought up is the effect that they're having with their actual cognitive health and their brain health based off of all of the traumatic brain injury that they've had. So, right now, a lot of these guys that are retiring are having a lot of neurological issues, having seizures and having psychological issues where some of them are even potentially suicidal. So, these type of individuals, taking care of their health, and taking this type of approach that we do is critical, man. It's truly critical, not just for them, but also for the family members.
It's funny you talk about brain health, and Lee Steinberg is a friend of mine, and every year for the last, I want to say 30 years now, he's thrown a party at the Super Bowl. In the last 11 years, I've been there with him in support. And about 8 years ago, he had a stroke that affected him negatively. And
Wow.
I had a stroke that took my left eye and my left ear. And we've been focusing the party, not all of it, but at least half of it, on brain health. And we've been working with NFL Health, which is a division of the NFL that basically focuses on the health of the players after their career. And
Amazing.
this year, I had a chance to hang out with Dana White and a couple of other people from the UFC, but also Power Slap. And the one thing that blows my mind, and I said this, I'll say this openly to anybody. I don't know how somebody doesn't understand that letting somebody take a hand and slap you as hard as they can in the face while you stand there. See, people don't understand your brain is sitting right here and your skull is here. It's a bone. And in between your brain and your skull, there's this liquid tissue, or it's not tissue, but this liquid that keeps your brain from bouncing off of your skull. And
Right.
when you take a traumatic shot to the head like that, it basically bounces your brain off your skull. And your brain is very sensitive to damage. If it bruises or swells, that stuff doesn't heal like normal parts of your body. And I thought to myself, I'm like, and these fighters are not even making that much money in the power slap. Like, I'm not kidding you, $1,500 for a fight with somebody. It's not even a fight. It's like basically who can slap each other into, unconsciousness. And these players that when they slap the player, the other person, it usually ends up with the other person just falling unconscious. That's how you win power slap. And I thought to myself, the guy that just got slapped unconscious, I don't think he understands what just happened. Like his brain shut off. Like his whole body just shut down because it took a lot of damage. You know,
Absolutely.
and I
Yeah.
think to myself, that's a tough way for people to make a little bit of money, but ultimately cause them lifelong harm.
Yeah, it's traumatic. It truly is. And listen, being a firefighter paramedic, I saw a lot of trauma, a lot of car accidents, people falling off of buildings, all kinds of stuff. And you're absolutely right, about the brain, that fluid, the cerebral spinal fluid, where the brain is basically floating. You
Mylar.
know, and what ends up happening, right, when someone gets such a huge impact, traumatic impact, that blunt trauma in their head, the brain swells. Well, the brain, you got that skull, right? If it starts swelling, it has nowhere to go. So what happens is there's something that's called Cushing's triad, right? Where it's swelling, it affects your blood pressure, it affects your heart rate, and you actually see all of these signs. And the only way to alleviate it, medication might help a little bit, but the only true way to alleviate that, they actually have to cut a piece of the skull out to let the brain continue to swell and relieve the pressure. Now, one thing I'll say is those guys, which I don't agree with that type of trauma that they're doing in the slap game. You'll notice when some of these guys pass out, they'll posture, right? And you'll see them passed out and they're posturing like this. Their arms go in, their legs go in, and sometimes they posture outwards. And you'll notice though that the coordinated posturing that's happening actually reflects what part of the brain got affected. If they're posturing in, it's one part of the brain. If they're posturing out, it's a different part of the brain. And this is stuff that we learned in medical school. And you see it happen consistently with these guys when they get knocked out. So it's one of those things, man, that they have to, it is a choice that they decided to, partake as an athlete in this so-called
It's
sport.
definitely a
But
choice, but
it's a
not
tough
everyone makes
choice.
a good choice with their life these days. So you look around and and I know Dana's like making money off of it, and they recently did a round where the power slap was valued at $750 million. And I get it, like it's entertaining to a degree, but when I watch it, it's almost like watching somebody, get in a car and be a crash test dummy and drive at full speed into a wall.
Right. And some of you start questions like, why did he do that? Like, that doesn't make sense. Who would sign up for that?
Well, overwhelmingly, from talking to some of the guys that fight in that league, they do it for two reasons. One, the money, which doesn't ultimately make sense when you look at the damage you're causing. And two, the fame, that moment of fame where they can be popular on social media. And a lot of people these days do things to attract popularity from social media. Social media is not that important. Like you can live without the social media fame, a better life by having all your brain health intact.
I agree.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So talk a little, a lot of people that I talk to are entrepreneurs. In fact, I'd say 100% of them are. Most people, 99% of people out there look to get a job, get a paycheck. And it's scary as fuck for people to take that leap of faith in themselves to start a business, to start a journey. Talk a little bit about how you started and how you took that leap of faith yourself.
Yeah, my case is a little bit more different than others. I was on the hustle since I was like a kid. Moving here from Dominican Republic, growing up in the inner city, where my mother used to literally cut napkins in half to save money. She knew down to a penny exactly what she would actually need from the grocery store. So for me, if I wanted to live the life and have the cool kicks and buy the nice bike to ride in the summer, I had to hustle the money myself, right? Shoveling people's snow, raking leaves for
Wait a
money,
second,
cutting
it
some of the
snows in
grass.
Dominican Republic?
Well, no, no, no. Remember, I
Huh.
came from Dominican Republic.
Oh, I
I
was
was,
going to say, I'm like, when did that happen?
yeah, that it would no longer be paradise in that sense.
Sammy, come shovel my snow. It's all over the sand.
Exactly, right? No, I grew up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin,
Ah,
so
hey, I used
lots
to
of
go up to
snow
Milwaukee
there.
all the time. I grew up in Chicago. There used to be a place we'd hit like crazy up there called Chili Max. Do you remember Chili Max?
I don't remember Chili Max, but I definitely would go to Chi Town all the time.
So,
Yeah,
do you know what? You ever go to a place called any place that serves what's called Chili Max, where they basically take noodles, they put them in a bowl, they smother it with chili, onions, cheese, sour cream. They make you basically a bowl of chili. But
yep, yep.
that place in Milwaukee was unbelievable. It was like cheap, good, warm food. And in the wintertime, we'd go hang out in Milwaukee, we'd drink at the bars, and then we'd go to Chili Max because it was open 24 hours a day. And I'm not kidding you, like fresh onions and like we would smother it in cheese and sour cream and like we'd literally sit there and eat Chili Max all night long. And yeah,
Amazing,
I used
amazing.
to love Milwaukee. I kind of hope Chili Max is still around. I ask people about it and they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, fuck, man, did that place go out of business? I'm like,
That's the thing about the Midwest, man. If you want some like really tasty, not so healthy food, they got it. They definitely
Chili
do.
Max was that bad. Like it was basically noodles and I don't know if yeah, no, that's weird. And I just got a text from a guy that wants to do a Stripe transaction on my platform for 29,000 and I'm like he's like I can't put it all through and I'm like, well, yeah, that's a big amount. Let's why don't you break it up in smaller payments. Um So I don't think Chili Max was that bad. Like it was basically noodles and chili and onions. I guess the cheese and sour cream ain't that good. Yeah, now that I think about it, it wasn't that good for you. But I will tell you, it tasted good. Like I don't know if you're a big chili fan, but every now and
Oh, I
then
love
during.
chili. I love chili. I'm definitely a chili fan.
So do you have a crock pot at home by chance?
Of course, you got to
Oh,
slow cook everything, man. I'm a slow cooker for
do you
sure.
do you make your own chili?
I can make my own chili. I mean, now I don't have too much time to do it how I used to when I was at the fire department. But we used to make a killer chili at the fire department.
Yeah, I love making my own chili. Like you can put all kinds of goodies in that chili, and I'm not kidding you. I love making my own chili.
So the secret ingredients that we would put in our chili at the fire department was M&Ms. They would melt, right? Because remember, the chili, the red sauce in there can become very acidic. So some people just put sugar, right, to balance it out. We'd put the M&Ms, and it was fantastic. You wouldn't know the M&Ms were in there because they melt, right? And
Yeah, yeah. Well, I've grown to a point in my life where I have to avoid sugar because sugar is slowly destroying my pancreas. So
right.
while the M&Ms sound good, surprisingly, I can imagine the bottom of that crock pot is probably slathered with chocolate at the bottom when you
No, that chocolate would actually, you don't even know where that chocolate went. But all I
really.
could tell you, it was an award winning chili because we'd go to the chili cook off and we'd get the trophy. It was an award winning chili. Yep.
Listen, I got to tell you, I love chili. I love making chili. I love eating chili. I used to make chili, and I'd cut up ground chuck, or not ground chuck, but chuck steak, and I'd cut
Yeah.
it up in small, real small squares. and I put it in there, and
Oh
you
yeah.
get like a chunk of steak in there with the ground beef.
Yeah, I
And I'm
love
not kidding.
that.
Like that was a killer like additive.
I love it. I love it. Oh yeah.
So talk a little bit about what it takes for a person to have enough faith in themselves in life to get up every day and chase their dreams. Because right now, you write your own paycheck right now. You literally make sure that every single day you have a set of goals that you achieve and that you win that day. And a lot of people, they're afraid of doing that. They're afraid of being on their own. I actually, to be honest with you, I find that whether you're on your own or getting a paycheck from somebody every day, at the end of the day, you still got to work 40 hours. And when you're on your own, it's not even work. It becomes fun after a while.
Right. It comes down to what about, what's your purpose in life, right? And how you're going to fulfill that purpose.
Tony Robbins, who lives down in Florida, I used to go to his events like crazy when I was a young kid. And one biggest thing that I learned at his events was find your purpose and your passion. And that was one thing they over and over and over harped on. And I think people don't do that early enough in their life.
Yeah. So I actually wrote an article specifically for that. And that's actually in my next book that I'm publishing is defining your true definition of success early in life. And I mean, literally, by the time you graduate high school, you should understand what your definition of success is because everyone's definition of success is different. A lot of people, they just go straight to, oh, me making a lot of money. My definition of success has nothing to do with money, right? So being able to define what your definition of success is, then you're working towards an actual goal early on, right? When you're talking about purpose, that's one of the most important parts of purpose is really figuring out what is your definition of success at the point in time that you reach retirement age. What are you going to consider as your personal success? Is it going to be being able to leave some kind of legacy behind? Is it being able to make a movement an actual movement come to fruition? Right? What is your definition of success?
So as you started like embracing health and wellness, which is kind of what I think your purpose and passion is, correct?
So my purpose is being able to help people in the time of need, right? So in high school, I was a lifeguard. I worked for ocean rescue, and I also became a swim instructor. And my whole purpose behind that was if someone's drowning, I want to be the guy to be able to help them and save their life. Here in Florida, the leading cause of death amongst children between the ages of 0 to 3 is drownings, right? So I said, I want
Really?
to be swim. Yep, yep.
Like in pools or in the ocean or what?
Pools, the canals, all over the place. So,
Wow.
so for me, it was, I want to become a swim instructor besides just being a lifeguard to be able to teach these young children how to at least defend themselves and float on their back.
That's
You
the
know,
number one cause of death for kids during that age range?
yep. Here in Florida, here in
Wow.
Florida. Yeah,
I would have never guessed that. That's wild.
yeah, yeah. So just imagine working in the fire department and running
Yeah.
those calls. Those are tragic, tragic, tragic 911 calls.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that's tough. I can't even imagine like a little kid, you have to try and do CPR, which is crazy too, because I think they should teach CPR at a much earlier age in schools because everyone should know CPR.
right.
And it's funny, like when somebody needs CPR, I've learned CPR and I've done it once in my lifetime, and it was at a pool here in Vegas where a girl had alcohol poisoning, which is hilarious because she only had 2 drinks. But people don't understand when you drink alcohol in the water in Vegas and it's, let's say, 115 degrees, you don't need a lot of alcohol because the sun is bouncing off the water and hitting your head. And so from the waist up, when we pulled her out, or when she fell out of the water, when she came out, she fell down. From the waist up, her body had like a significant tan line. It was unbelievable. Like
Oh
she
wow.
was she was white from the waist down and then bright red from the waist up. And I thought to myself, how did she not know she was cooking? And she was drinking while she was wading in the water. And she was from, I want to say Chicago. Yeah, no, Michigan. She was from Michigan.
Wow.
And so she passed out and like nobody knew what to do. And I immediately grabbed a towel, put it underneath her head because her head was directly on the cement. And we started doing CPR. And like she just passed out. She wasn't passed out and unconscious. she was passed out and having a hard time breathing because her body had heated up so much. Partly her brain heated up too. That she I guess her body like forgot how to breathe, so we just had to get her going again. And then we just put wet rags on her, and then this paramedics came and got her out to the hospital. Amazing thing is, she was fine a couple hours later, and she just had alcohol poisoning, they said, and it was amazing.
That could be the case. You know, when you're in a hot environment like that, getting into heat exhaustion can happen very quickly, especially if you're drinking, because drinking is dehydrating you. You know, people are inside the water, they're drinking, they think they're hydrated, right? You're in water, you're drinking some kind of liquid, but you're actually dehydrating yourself even more. So heat exhaustion can happen very quickly. And right after heat exhaustion you can have a heat stroke, which is
Yeah,
that can be detrimental.
yeah, heat stroke slash alcohol poisoning. And it's funny because you talk about drinking and the fact that it's a liquid, but if it's an alcoholic liquid, it's actually dehydrating your
Right.
insides, mostly your brain too.
Yeah.
And when your body swells from heat, then all of a sudden you get that swelling. It's literally, it's the worst of both worlds for your body.
Right. Right.
Talk a little bit about your road ahead. What are some of the things that are on your goals and things that you're trying to achieve over the next 12 to 18 months?
You know, part of some of my goals, man, is there's a big movement going on right now. Make America healthy again with RFK Jr. You know,
RFK. I was at
that
I was at one of the inauguration balls, and yeah, he's the best health individual we've ever had in government, I think in our lifetime. Like the last person was confused about their gender and how highly overweight. You look at some of these other health people, they're 400 or 500 pounds, 300 pounds. How can you be a leader in our government and make decisions about America's health when you yourself are horribly out of shape?
right, right. Yeah, and that's what we've been dealing with. And truthfully, if there's any chance of a true change in the course of medicine, this is our time. The next 4 years is our time.
Yeah. And we've got to get people to understand that your health has to be proactive. You can't wait for something to happen. And not everything gets fixed with the medication. We got too many people trying to find solutions in a pill.
Right,
For a great example, the biggest craze right now is Ozempic and peptides. And
right,
people are basically, taking jabs of Ozempic to try and cheat the system and lose weight. Well, they don't understand. There's a whole laundry list of after effects that are happening because of Ozempic. Sometimes being healthy is watching what you put in your body, watching how you eat, watching how you exercise, watching what your body does. And we've got people that are constantly looking for a pill or a jab that'll ultimately speed up that process.
right.
Awesome. Sammy, leave people with something inspirational. When we end a talk, I usually tell people leave some people with something inspirational, something that'll get them off the couch, something that'll get them to be healthier, something that'll get them to chase their dreams. Leave them with a story that's inspirational.
So the one thing that I'll leave people with is when it comes to your health, right? That's one thing that you won't trade for anything. It's if you actually would label your health as a currency, you wouldn't trade it on the stock market. It would be that one currency on the market that you would actually just keep those stocks and never trade it, right? Because your health is so important. So when you hear people out there say health is wealth, it really is,
Yep.
right? So part of that is really understanding your own health data. It's very difficult to take care of your health if you don't understand how your health is performing. So utilizing certain things like wearables, the Apple Watch, the Whoop, the Oura Ring, understanding your sleep data, that allows you to take true control of your health. So my recommendation is first step, take that first step to understand what your wellness data is. And then from there, make some actionable items. It's not expensive. You could actually do most of it for free. The two most important things to take care of your health is going to be moving your body, right? And I don't say exercise, I said moving your body 20 to 30 minutes consistently. If you like to go outside and garden, go garden for 20 to 30 minutes every single day, right? And then number two, what you're feeding your body. Your body is the temple of God, treat it as so. So make sure you're giving your body the nourishment that it needs, right? To help build up its immune system. And then third, to add the last one here is sleep. making sure that your body recovers. So making sure you get a good night's sleep, making sure you prepare your body for sleep by not eating too late where your heart rate is elevated and you can't get a good get into a good REM cycle. Those are some of the things that you need to do to just take care of your health.
It's funny. Most of my life, I wasn't educated on health and nutrition. And about a couple of years ago, I was about 343 pounds. It was 3, 4 years ago. And I started realizing that I had to take control of my health or otherwise I was going to be dead, dead. And one of the biggest things that I did that I learned to do was at about 6 o'clock, no later. And I'm like religious about it. I don't put solid food in my body. I'll drink tea, I'll drink water, whatever. But from 6 till about 8 in the morning the next day, I literally don't put solid food in my body. And I learned that people think when you eat something, when you eat food, it goes straight in your belly, but it doesn't. It goes into your esophagus, and your esophagus slowly throughout the day moves it down into your belly. And then it has to sit there and it has to get through the large intestine, small intestine before it even gets there. And then by the time you get it all the way down there and into your belly has to digest it. And that requires your pancreas to create enzymes and, in some cases, insulin. And people don't realize that when you put solid food in your body, you got to give your body almost a 12-hour fast every day so that it can literally get all that food out of its system. And
Right.
drinking a lot of liquids during that fast is good because you basically clean your esophagus. And that's one thing I tell people all the time is if you want to get healthy, learn to deprive your body of solid food for 12 hours a day, primarily when you're sleeping because you don't need solid food. And if you can do that, you'll give your body a chance to rest, reset, and recover.
I love it. You're absolutely right, man. As a health and wellness expert, I can validate with what you're saying. You got to
Yeah.
give yourself, you got to give your gut the ability to reset, man. There's something that's called the gut brain axis. If your gut's not right, everything else is going to fall apart. Your immune system, mental clarity, focus, it's just not going to be there.
Yeah. And people are like, wow, how'd you go down from 343 to 204? That was one of the biggest things. The other thing is I started increasing the amount of water I was taking in every day. I
Right.
take in about 2 gallons of water every single day. And I tell people all the time, your body craves water. It doesn't crave Red Bull. It doesn't crave, well, sometimes it craves coffee, but every now and then, you got to literally put water in your body and you got to flush your body. You got to let that water flush. And I don't think enough people drink water. Like I see a lot of people that they don't drink a lot of water. When I tell people I drink 2 gallons of water every day, their mind is blown. They're like, wow, I only drink like a couple of glasses. I'm like, you just got to force yourself to just clean your body out. You're not drinking water because you're thirsty. You're drinking water because you're cleaning your body, because you're using it as a flushing tool to get everything out of your body doesn't want.
That's true.
Anyways, he's Sammy Tejada. He's down in Miami. He's sweating his ass off. He's getting people healthy. He's a former fireman. He's not the WWE champion yet. Sam, I appreciate your time, man.
It was a pleasure, brother. Take it easy.
Hold on one second.